We are welcoming everyone to this introductory qualitative data analysis using Atlas TI. And I'm also excited to work with you as honor students, as postgraduate diploma students who likely, to develop your research skills for either your research methodology module or research report module or any of your research projects. And today we will be exploring how computer assisted qualitative data analysis can enhance your research capabilities. And before we begin, let me briefly ask how many of you have experience with qualitative research? And also how many have used any qualitative analysis software before? I think this will also help us to gauge where we are as the starting point. So feel free to comment on the Q&A. And I think I'll go back and check the comments when we will be going live. But feel free to post them on the chat. And we believe by the end of this session, you will be in a position where you have some practical skills and yeah, those practical skills will help you, to begin your qualitative analysis project. And as you can see, these objectives that are presented, that are projected, they align with the research methods, that are required in your honors level, your postgraduate diploma level. And I must say, qualitative analysis, especially in the African context, where we often need to understand social phenomena, cultural dynamics, and lived experiences, is very important because numbers alone cannot capture that essence. So think about your research on Ubuntu social cohesion or post-apartheid social dynamics. This, as you can see, they require the depth that qualitative analysis can provide. So the big question now is why qualitative data analysis? And I must say, qualitative research, as we know, is powerful when we want to understand these complex social realities. And in the African continent and other indigenous contexts, this means understanding how communities experience things like service delivery, how students navigate higher education, or even how cultural practices, adapt in modern context. Unlike the quantitative that tell us about the numbers, the what and the how much, qualitative research reveals the deeper meanings, the deeper processes and experiences. And I believe it's especially valuable when we are addressing also previously marginalized voices or this complex cultural phenomenon where context matters a great deal. And I can see in the chat you are responding. Thanks a lot. We will revisit those responses. So many of you might be thinking, can I just use highlighters or my MS Word or Excel while analyzing? And while manual analysis has its place, we are promoting, the digital one. So computer-assisted analysis offer many advantages, especially for you at honors and postgraduate diploma level research. So imagine if you are analyzing 20 or more interviews, manually versus having a software that can help you to organize, to code, and to retrieve data instantly. So this software, I must also emphasize that they don't think for you, but then you are still the analyst making those interpretive decisions. But then what's interesting is that it makes the mechanical aspects of analysis to be much more manageable and systematic. So why Atlas TI? We know that it is one of the big three, qualitative analysis software, alongside NVivo and MaxQDA. Yes, NVivo is also good, but I think Atlas is more powerful when coming to analyze different formats. Your text, your audio, video, and so on, and also managing huge data. So the nice thing about NVivo is that it has this good and easy to follow interface, but the web version of Atlas TI, I think it's also user friendly. So yeah, but at UNISA we are using Atlas, and we as a student you have full access to it. And I'll also share the link for those who don't have access to Atlas. You can follow that link, and our state units will be able to assist you. So as I was saying, it's one of the three qualitative analysis software packages, and Vivo is one of them. And it's particularly strong, like I said, for theory building research, and it offers this excellent visualization tools, the networks, which I will show you. So for you as UNISA students, you don't have a problem with the license because it is accessible, and we are doing a lot of trainings on qualitative data analysis. And I believe the skills that you learn in Atlas are also transferable to other packages. So view it like Atlas may be BMW and Vivo might be Mercedes-Benz. So yeah, more or less the same. So whatever you do in Atlas, you can also do in Vivo. But at the moment, we have the full license for Atlas. Now, this table that I've projected, I think it will help you to clarify why we need different approaches for different research questions. And you might use quantitative methods to measure literacy rates across provinces, but use qualitative methods to understand how students experience language barriers in higher education. So also notice how the researcher's role differs. So if you are doing quantitative research, obviously it is objective and you will be detached. But then your role as a qualitative researcher is always reflective, and you are almost engaged. And that is why also in data analysis, you are involved. You can do and infuse your own interpretation. So that is one of the differences with quanti and quali. And by now, you might know that the findings in quantitative, we generalize. That is why we are looking for these large samples. And for qualitative research, we're not focusing on big numbers, but for us to get that rich and contextual insights. And these are some of the types of data. So in quanti, it's more numerical, statistical, but then in qualitative, we work with text, visual, and audio. Yes, and the purpose, straightforward, we are exploring meanings so that we can understand these deep experiences. But also what I want to emphasize again is the issue of validity. So in quantitative, we are looking more on statistical significance, but then on qualitative research, it's more on trustworthiness of data. And by now, you should be aware of those four legs in trustworthiness of data: your credibility, dependability, confirmability, and transferability. So those are our legs that help us to validate our results. So in qualitative research, you are not trying to eliminate your influence, because as a researcher, you come with your own knowledge. And I think you should not eliminate it, but rather acknowledge and manage it reflexively. So for honor students, postgraduate diploma students, understanding these differences, I think it will help you, to choose appropriate method and defend your methodological choices in your research proposal or the research report module. Now, we have to address these foundations because qualitative analysis starts with quality data collection. So if you collect the data that is good, it's going to be easy for you to analyze. And this often means, being in South Africa, Africa, or any indigenous context, being sensitive to language preferences. You might interview people and they might switch to their language. So it's important also to be aware of cultural protocols and the power dynamics, especially those who are interviewing participants in your own working spaces. So if you will be interviewing your subordinates, you should be aware of those power dynamics, so that you cannot influence these responses. Otherwise, they will contaminate your data. So when interviewing across different languages, consider whether translations should happen before or after analysis. And those who are doing linguistics, they know that there is a lot about translation. So you might read a bit if you will be translating. But then what you also want to see, you might translate, but then on those quotations, we need to see to a lesser extent the participant responses, because by including them, we will hear their voices, but it's something that you can take up with your supervisor. So this verbatim transcription, captures not just word, but context. Like, for example, you will be interviewing someone and they will pause before, say, discussing financial struggle. So that pause alone, it's a very meaningful data. So that is why when you are transcribing, you have to include those verbatim responses, but also those non-verbal cues, because it's a lot of data on that pause alone. And I've seen several honor students, losing weeks of work due to poor file management. So I think it's important that you establish that good data organization practice from day one. So what do I mean by that? When you are interviewing, make sure that you save those recordings safely. Make sure that you label those recording in an ethical manner. So instead of listing the names of your participants as part of ethical consideration, you can rename them participant one or use pseudos. In that way, you will be respecting those ethical considerations that you proposed, you will adhere to. And it will be easy when you transfer that material into Atlas TI. I also feel it's important that you position, your analysis in your report. So for those who are not sure about data analysis and they haven't analyzed and they don't know how and where it fit in. So if you are doing a proposal or your research report, you'll have a section on introduction where you give us a background, you outline the problem statement, and your aims, objectives, research questions, and so on. Then the next section will be on literature review, where now you have to look at what other scholars have done to resolve the problem that is similar to the one that you are solving, and obviously look for those gaps, because overall the gist of research is to contribute to the body of knowledge, unless if you want to confirm something, of course. And then you will have a section on methodology where you will tell us about the research paradigms, data collection tools and techniques, population and sampling, your ethical consideration. But also in that section, methodology, there is a subsection on data analysis. So there you have to tell us, after you've collected data, if it's primary, you might be doing interviews, individuals or a focus group. And if you are doing secondary, it might be reports and other documents. So you need to tell us there that after you have collected this data, then what? So that is the important section. And then you'll have another section on the findings and results. And it should be aligned with that data analysis section. So if you are going to use any approach that I'll talk about in the next slide, we need to see here on the methodology, that subsection on data analysis. And for example, you might say you will be analyzing your findings thematically. So already as a reader, I expect to see your findings in themes. If you are doing narrative, same thing. And under discussion and analysis, you have to present your results. And after the results, after you have presented your results, you have to interpret. So then what? And I think there you need to show us, those differences, similarities, even contradictions, if there are any. You need to show us how it is aligning with your literature review or theory that you might have used. And from there, you can now move to implications. Say, okay, I had this problem statement. Was it resolved? To what extent? To what extent? Through this data analysis, I had these research questions. Were they fully answered? I had these research objectives. Did I realize all of them? And what are the recommendations coming up from this data analysis? So I believe by now you can see where data analysis fit in. So you can see that the analysis does not exist in isolation. It's integrated throughout your research report findings. And don't forget that in methodology, you must justify why you choose any analysis framework. For example, if you are using thematic analysis, just highlight why you are using it over content analysis, for example, that justification. So at honors level, expectation is that you need to be aware of other frameworks and why you are using particular one that you are using. And that is how other students, get cum laudes and so on. So your findings section should present the themes, and they should be systematic, with rich codes that illustrate, each themes. So what do I mean? When you are presenting your themes, you need to have those verbal quotations so that we can see the voice of your participants. And I see at times students will just put one quotation. So we need to see more quotations and that variation from your participants. Yeah. And the discussion, again, you need to interpret these findings. What do they mean? How do they relate to the theory that you used? And so on. So remember that analysis is not just describing what participants are saying. It's also interpreting the deeper meanings and patterns. Now, these are the common qualitative analysis approaches or framework. So different research questions will require different analytical approaches. And I see most honor students, they benefit from starting with thematic analysis. Not that it is easy, but because while it is systematic, it's also flexible. So you will have those 6 steps prescribed by Brown and Locke, and yours will be to address how you are applying each one of them. like familiarizing yourself with the data. That's the first one. So you need to tell us how you familiarize yourself with the data, listening to those interview recordings and reading and rereading those transcriptions. So those are the things that we want to see as part of previewing your data analysis. So content analysis is also more structured and works well with analyzing documents or media. And you might also use it to analyze how newspapers, for example, represent social issues, comments in social medias, and so on. Narrative analysis, on the other hand, focuses on how people construct and tell their stories. So obviously, when you are coding under this narrative, you will try to pull more quotations compared to other approaches so that we can see, those stories. So yes, narrative is useful for understanding this identity formation and life transitions and so on. Phenomenology is one of the frameworks and it's one of the designs, but then why am I putting it under these frameworks? Because it goes deeper into understanding the essence of lived experiences. And if you read the work of Smith, you will see that in phenomenology, there are two layers of interpretation: descriptive or interpretive. And you must demonstrate, that understanding and apply it. So choose your approach based on your research questions, research problem, not just your personal preference. And Atlas TI support all these approaches, but I must also remind you that this software doesn't determine your methodology, but your research questions do. So it will just help you to analyze the data. I want to focus more on the practical side, but then I think it's also good that I share these best practices for success because we want you to succeed. So based on my experience as training, I think these are some success factors. So if you have not analyzed before, start small. Start with small data sets. And maybe in the resources that I'll be sending you, I will include some of the data sets from Atlas TI so that you can practice with it. So start small so that you can be familiar with the software before tackling this full project that you are doing. It will also help you to develop this systematic procedures, at your early stage. And you will be familiar and know how to code, name those labels, organize the families, write these memos. It will help you to document, your analytical decision extensively. And yes, Atlas TI, some people, report that they are corrupted and so on. So make sure that you back up regularly. There's also a cloud option in Atlas. So yeah, those are some of the measures that you can take to ensure that you don't lose your work. And if you are working in teams, so if you are having a project and your lecturer has divided you in teams, it's fine. Establish those protocols and you can use the web version to work in teams so that you can have that audit trail to show who is doing what and what and that work distribution. It will always capture that. So most importantly, stay reflexive about your analytical choice. So Atlas TI is a tool, but you are the analyst, making these interpretive decisions. Common challenges and solutions. Yes, with honor students, I think code proliferation it's common. So most of the honor students will create too many codes. And at honors level, usually they don't expect you, to have this big presentation of findings. So I see a lot of students just coding and coding and coding, and it takes your time. So they create too many codes and lose focus, especially those who code, using this AI features inside of Atlas. So you need to regularly review and consolidate. I think it is helping. And inconsistent coding, yes. So this one happens when you don't have defined codes. So whatever code that you are putting the label, make sure that you have a definition of it. It will help you, especially for those who are starting. So there might be some technical issues that arise. You have us at UNISA, but also the Atlas team in Europe, in US. That is why when you are registering, we encourage you to use UNISA My Life email or the work one, so that should you encounter any problems, you can reach out directly to them and they will respond in real time. Analysis paralysis, yes, it happens when you get lost in the data. So always return to your research questions, always return to your research objectives, to guide your analysis. And remember, perfect analysis doesn't really exist. So we might be analyzing same transcript and the results might come not the same, but a bit different here. So what you need to do is to aim for systematic. We need to see the approach that you are using, justify why you are using. You need to be transparent, and coding in Atlas, it affords you that transparency. I see some students, they will just throw in transcripts in other AI features and not disclose. So we don't see you being systematic. We don't see that systematic process where you tell us that you are using this approach, why you are using it, and how you have analyzed. So yes, you can throw in those transcripts in AI softwares, and you can get the themes, you can get the code categories, and the codes, and even go beyond, to discuss and integrating those. But remember, you'll be penalized because we don't see this systematic process. And most of the students who are doing that are not transparent. They are not acknowledging that they have used ChatGPT AI to analyze thematically. So you will be penalized and you will lose a lot of marks. So please don't go that route. That is why we are making these interventions. Now, for those who don't have Atlas TI yet and you are doing qualitative projects, we will share the slides. So make sure that you go to this form and request it. If there are any challenges, feel free to send us an email and we will address that. So for now, I will share my screen so that we go live into Atlas. So like I said, we have two versions, the desktop one and the web one. So for you to access the web one, you can go to atlas.com. Then when you get there, you can go to my Atlas and it will request you to log in. Then when you continue, you will come to this invitation. Then you can go to the Atlas web. So we are recording this session, so it will be easy for you to follow. But I want us to go to the web one, the desktop one. But before we go to the desktop one, I have an exercise for you. And also, if I think you can check the comments there. So,
Yes, I'm checking, Doctor.
yes, because I want us to understand the coding and what it means. And you will see if you understand this concept of coding, it will be easy for you to code in Atlas. This is an exercise that I did last week in the College of Education. So it's just one transcript, and the study was about remote work experiences during COVID pandemic. And there were semi-structured interviews with university staff members. And you can see something that you shouldn't do. There are names of the participants here. So you could have easily said participant number 1. Okay, so remember analysis now is turning this raw data to information. So you need to describe, but also tell us what it means. All right. So we need to focus on coding because coding is at the core of analysis. So if you can understand how to code, it will be easy because after you've coded your transcripts or your documents, you'll be almost 85% done. So it's very important to understand these concepts. So, and again, this is the right format of doing the transcript. So while you are transcribing, we need to see what you as the interviewer was asking and the response from your participant. So now, and remember, in qualitative, you need to be creative. So there's no right or wrong. Just let those creative juices flow. Yeah. So as an interviewer, you are asking Sarah the question. So in this instance, you thank them about participating in the research. And I think you can also take the chance, to make that ethical consideration to be ongoing, to encourage them or remind them about confidentiality and other things. Yes, you might do it on paper, they might sign, but then sometimes they would not go all out to give you information. So it is an ongoing thing. You need to do it even when you are interviewing so that participants can open up, because you are reassuring them. So you are thanking them for participating in the research about remote work experiences, and you're asking them to tell them about their transition to working from home when the pandemic started. And this is the response. They're saying, well, it was quite overwhelming initially. I remember that Friday when they announced would all be working remotely starting Monday. I had no dedicated workspace at home, no proper desk setup, nothing. I spent the entire weekend frantically trying to create some sort of office space in my small apartment. So now, how do you code this? So you can code on a sentence level or a paragraph level. But then from this sentence, what are you picking up? What are they saying? Feel free to put your comments in the chat.
Nothing as yet, Doctor.
Let's give them a moment.
Okay.
And another sentence. I remember that Friday when they announced to be working remotely starting Monday. I had no dedicated workspace. I had no dedicated workspace at home, no proper desk setup, nothing.
Benjamin is saying overwhelming experience.
Yes. Okay, this one is too dark. So overwhelming experience, that is what you are picking. True, I agree with you. So, and let's hear others.
Sadiki says emotions, feelings.
Okay, feelings, emotions, yes. Maybe let's take
And
the last one.
Kulile says the experience.
Okay, perfect. So this is how you should code. So this is a big information and you are breaking it down into small chunks. So this is at the gist of coding. And once you've mastered this, you're almost 80%, gone with analysis in Atlas. So this is the old way of doing it, but the fundamentals are the same. And you need to understand. Yes, Raf?
Darlene and Kulile also says resources, inadequate resources from Darlene.
Yes, perfect. So you can see now I also did it. Manually first. Okay. And I also picked up the feelings, overwhelmed. They're saying they're overwhelmed. A lack of tools, home versus environment. Some of you find those resources inadequate ones. So you see, that is how you are coding. You are trying to break this big information into small components by just attaching that label. And if you can master this, you are 80 to 85% done with your analysis. So this is the old way. We don't want you to do it this way because it will waste your time. But I just wanted to demonstrate the understanding behind coding. So let's go into Atlas. Let's go into Atlas. So this is Atlas. First of all, what you will need to do, you will need to set up the project. So you can put the title of your project here. You can also put some comments and so on. Then you create. Immediately you will see on the list, you will find that title. Perfect. Now, when you open this project, you will see the overview is 0000. Everything is 0. There'll be your name here. So we need to import those documents. So if you go to if you go to home, you can add documents here. So you can say add files and collect them where you have saved them, or you can drag and drop them. So now, another nice thing about this is if it's a Word version, you can just edit and remove some of the things. Where it's raw, you can replace with participants, so forth. Yeah, this is what you can do with the web version. So we were focusing on the first transcript, the first paragraph, and some of you were saying this one is overwhelming. So just like in Word, you can just highlight this. After you have highlighted it, you can right click, there's apply code, or you can highlight it and go to coding there. These are same functions. So it's your own preference. You'll see there's 0 codes, 0 memos, 0. So after you highlight it, you will be like, okay, here they're talking about feelings. Someone said feelings. Someone said overwhelmed. So be free. Put everything. Put everything here. There can be multiple codes on one segment. So feel free. Someone was saying here, they're talking about resources. So you just highlight and put that label. Someone was saying inadequate resource, inadequate resource. Sometimes you'll make spelling mistakes, so it's fine. You can continue. At the end, you will have to clean them up and match them. So what am I saying? Just be free. go on and code, you will edit later. Let those flowing juices, creative juices flow. There was someone saying lack of resources. So lack of resources, you code. Lack of resources, code it. And someone was saying experience. So whatever comes to your mind, type it. Okay. So you will have all these codes, and it might happen that sometimes you are not sure what to put in here. So you can just highlight and right click and go to apply codes or go to coding there. Then you can ask it to suggest for you. Maybe it can pick up something that you didn't talk about. You see now initial reaction. So if you feel it is fitting there, you can activate it and it will be there. So these are some of the functions that you can do. Another good function that you can make use of is, especially those who are using thematic, because the first step of Brown and Log is familiarizing yourself with the data. So you can go to this transcript, right click, go to analysis and try AI summaries, and it will try to summarize what the content of this transcription, and it might give you other insights that you might have missed. So let's see what will come up. It will try and give you a summary of what is in here. So one feature that you can use. Another feature that you can use, let me show you something. Okay, let me delete other things. I want to show you some AI features. I'm gonna remove these ones for now in the project and go to this AI features. So you might have this, and if you right click and go to analysis, there is AI coding. Remember I said AI coding, these tools are good, but then you have to be at the forefront and drive them. So this AI coding, what will do, it will try and code this whole transcript very fast for you. No problem about it. It will tell you the number of codes it has picked up and the categories. So if you feel this is in line, you can apply. If you feel this one does not fit in here, you can disable it. So you need to be involved. So if you apply, you will see it will, it's talking about adaptation, one thing that we missed. So it can also come up with a good thing, this AI coding. So you can use it, but make sure that you are involved in the process. Make sure that you go back and just double check if these codes, are in line or not. If not, you can always remove it before you apply or come in here and delete it from the project. There is another one on intentional coding. So what it will do, it will need you to give it a context. So I'm just copying this one. So same thing, you go to transcript analysis, intentional coding. So this one is like this coding, but then this one, you have to give it context. And by giving it context, you are maybe sharing the title and that it is interviews and so on and so on. You can go to next. Okay, it might be my network or my tokens are finished. Okay, so yeah, but what it will do, it will come up with research questions, then you can refine them. So this one, I find it to be a bit better because now you are heavily involved in this. I think my tokens are done because with this AI, okay, no, it's not the tokens. Maybe something is not it's not responding well. I'm not sure. Okay, there we go. So you've given it context. It will suggest the questions. So what I find important is that yes, you can look at these questions, and maybe what you can do, you can also put in your own research questions, and it will try and analyze and find codes that are relating to your questions and so on. And you can see this one, unlike the previous AI one, the intentional one, it also suggests the code categories. So if you feel the category is not in line with this question, you can always amend. And again, if this question is not in line with what you're doing, you can always disable it. So again, there is provision space for more questions. You can always type another question and the category there. Then after that, what you can do is to start coding, and within a few seconds it will just code your transcript. So while this it's good, make sure that you you go in and double check if these codes are in line. If they are in line, you may keep them, and then this will guide you when you are coding the next transcript. So you can use it for the first transcript, see what is there, and then follow through with other transcripts. So these are some of the things so after you have coded all the transcripts and all the documents, I just want to show you something. So after you've coded all these documents and the transcript, you will have a number of codes. And remember I said it will be 85% done. So you will have this number of codes. So what will be left now to move them into categories? So if you are having your orange, your pear, your apple, your guava. So if these are fruits, then what you can do, you can give those in the same group, same color. So if you have orange, narchi, lemon, you can give them the same color and open a new group, saying maybe it's citrus. So you see now you are breaking this big data again into smaller chunks, into groups. You're trying to make sense. So the colors, you can right click and change any color. So the gist of analysis is on getting these codes right. And you have to group, and then after grouping, you will see these patterns and the themes will develop. But then if you have done a good job on coding, I don't think you'll struggle. The nice thing about Atlas, you will see these numbers. So there's more responses in this. When you are presenting your findings, you can just double click this code. There will be a lot of responses. So if you want to make use of this quotation, you can just click it and copy it to your document. So it's easy as that. So this is the another advantages of using Atlas. If you now want to make sense and say, okay, there are people who are talking a lot about this climate change belief. I want to see who are those people. You can also right click, go to analysis, and go to code documents. There'll be a table, but you can use also Sankey diagram, and you will see everyone who will be talking about this particular thing. I think maybe let's take another one so that you can see what I'm talking about. you will see behaviors. So who is talking about behaviors in your data? These are the people, and the bigger the band, the more that person is talking about it. So these are the nice images that you can export, copy and paste in your analysis. Another nice thing is that you can export this report. Remember, we talk about trustworthiness. So part of transferability for audit trails, you have all these audit trails, and it will tell you whatever that you have been doing in Atlas. So that is just the basics of using Atlas versus when you are coding manually. So yeah, I think this is the first workshop, but we are running some sessions almost every Monday, touching on different themes. So yes, feel free to attend, but we'll also share evaluation form. And if you feel we need to dwell on one particular aspect and give it more time, feel free to make those inputs, and we'll see how we can address them. So I think I'll stop here.